You could state your name when you're here.
Yeah, Matt Bunting, I'm treasurer at Athens City Schools.
Awesome. You were saying that for 16 years. Okay. Could we do a quick recap of how what K-6 funding plan is for?
Yeah, there really isn't one yet, and we probably won't know what it is for the next for 14 and 15 until at least February at the earliest.
Okay. And the current one is a bridge between.
Yes, and it's even they will tell you it's not actually a formula. It was a number they backed into basically what money they had to spend on education and then did it per pupil.
Okay.
And it's generated a wide. I mean, Athens per pupil is about $3,010 roughly. Trimble, for instance, is probably somewhere around $8,600 per pupil.
And that's state funding, you said, per person?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen the range from the mid $400 a kid up to $8,700 a kid.
And so, is there what's the general profile of a set of a set of schools that get a lot more state funding than, say, funding from property taxes?
They based it basically on what your property valuation was per student. So obviously Athens has a higher property value than Trimble. Not to pick on Trimble, but
no.
So they got a higher state share than what Athens did.
And so that kind of plan, how long has that been going on specifically?
It's been going on for my whole career in some form or another, and that's actually part of the problem they did with the whole Grolf case that I don't know if you're familiar with. About 10, 12 years ago, there was a lawsuit against the state declaring it was unconstitutional. They were funding it, and it was all based on property values, and obviously you can still see it all based on property values.
So nothing's really changed for the better since then?
There has been some, but the basic funding method has been consistent.
Do you know of any ways of funding public schools in other states that are more successful?
They've looked at those. There was an attempt to get a constitutional amendment on the ballot that failed. It didn't get enough signatures to get on the ballot a couple of years ago. There's a variety of ways. I mean, you've got Florida, for instance, has no income tax, where Ohio does have income tax. So what it still boils down to is what share of the state budget do they want to allocate for education. I was in a meeting once when Bob Taft was governor, and a person from the Ohio Budget Management Office made the comment that the state of Ohio does three things: they educate, medicate, and incarcerate in prisons, Medicare, and public education.
So, because of the way that this is funded, does this inherently mean that a kid in a poor area with less income taxes, is he going to get a worse education than somebody in a more?
Well, the state has a point up to a limit that throwing more money at the issue doesn't necessarily yield better results. But there's also a floor to that too, where if there's not enough money to provide certain things, there's without a doubt different qualities of education. Without a doubt, there are great kids and great students that achieve great things from every school in the state of Ohio.
If you were trying to make some policy, where would you maybe start with if you were trying to maybe fix some of the system that may be failing certain kids in certain areas?
Well, you've got 612 public schools, K-12 public schools in the state of Ohio. The problem is there is no one formula that will make everybody happy.
Yeah, of course.
So you've got to look for a basic funding formula to provide for the basic needs of the kids, and then almost have add-ons. So if there's a higher poverty rate or a higher disability rate in one district than another, there's a way to fund those schools that fit that criteria
Which direction do you think Kansas is going to be going with his newest plan?
I probably wouldn't even hazard a guess, although from some people I've talked to, I think they're going to change what's called the charge-off, which is a way to determine the local share, and maybe move away from property value only to including some other things, maybe income, maybe poverty levels, maybe disability levels. One thing I don't disagree with that we've always had is we call it a charge-off, but it's a determination of a local share. In my mind, if we don't have local participation, then we probably aren't entitled to local governance, so we wouldn't have, and if the state's going to fit the whole bill, why would we have a local school board, for instance?
Makes sense.
So if you want some local control over your education, you're going to have a local share of the cost.
Is there anything that members of individual communities can do to help out public schools that are, maybe in need of funding, or,
The only method right now to get any meaningful money is, unfortunately, through property tax increases or an income tax. I've seen some horror stories with other parts of the state with different groups coming in, and their goal is just to slash spending. Well, spending in a school district, 80 cents out of every dollar goes to personnel costs, to teacher salaries and that sort of thing, which drives up the class sizes. And so I'd like, it'd be great if people would take a little more interest and look at how their school is operating, something other than just state reports that tend to make everybody look bad. In this district, to try to cut costs before we have to cut staff. But if you were around here last fall, we closed an elementary building.
Which one was that again?
Chancey Elementary.
Where was that located?
It's on the eastern edge of the district.